We are back for Two Planes Live. We'll give people a little bit to trickle in here. When was the last time we did this? Last summer?
Dude,
Brandon,
it was
I
back
think
in December during the recruitment stuff. I was
you're
looking back at all our
right.
stuff. It's been a while.
I'm
Yeah,
between the
you're
Lake
right.
Boys.
Yeah, because Brandon, were you on for that? I can't remember if you were or
Last
not.
time I did was pre-army
Pre,
stuff.
pre-Space Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll give some people a little bit of time to get in here. But it feels good. I think we need to continue doing this more,
I agree.
especially as we roll into spring ball. I mean, we're in spring ball right now, but the spring game, and we've got visits coming up, big weekend, recruiting weekend here pretty soon. But we were talking about what should we lead off with, and I was just thinking about it. This week is the week that Michael Hawkins is announcing his commitment. It's coming. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, Brandon. Obviously, I think we all generally feel pretty good. But is that the tip of the iceberg, and maybe more of the Avalanche? It's the start of the Avalanche for commitments for Oklahoma over the next 2 to 3 months. Obviously, we've picked up one, but what do you think?
Well, it's not going to hurt, right?
No, it won't hurt at all.
Can't hurt. Obviously, I hope he commits. I know we're still in the race with TCU there. I think he's a good quarterback, but I've said a couple times I don't know that he ever plays at OU, and I mean I still want him, but I don't know that he ever plays. What do you guys think?
I mean,
It's tricky.
I think he can play at OU. I mean, how much and when he actually starts, that's a whole nother deal. But Robert actually brings up a good point. I don't know if you guys saw, but Javonte Barnes is in a walking boot,
I saw that.
and I'm not really sure what for. Obviously, it's less than ideal.
I mean,
But
we can all remember our high school days. Feels like whenever it was off-season training, football players were living in walking boots. They'd tweak their ankle or mess up their foot in some way. Then they were in them for a couple weeks. The fact that he was at practice in a uniform, he's probably just recovering from getting dinged up in practice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure it's very, very minor. I'm sure we'll see him at the spring game. Totally
that,
rock.
that or it was like a maintenance cleanup deal, so you're not dealing with anything later in the season, which I'd rather guys be proactive than reactive. I mean, my baseball team, the Red Sox, obviously Trevor Story, I mean, he's being more reactive, had his Tommy John so late, I mean, I'd rather a guy like Javonte Barnes can get cleaned up early. But going back to Hawkins, I think he's pretty much a shoo-in, and I think he brings in Devon Mitchell with him. And does Devon Mitchell reclassify? I mean, I really
That dude's freaky.
he is freaky good for sure.
I mean, Michael Hawk, I understand why you think he might never play, but as long as he understands the situation he'd be committing to, it's not like it'd be a surprise that he sits for a while. So he's committing knowing potentially what his future looks like. But we also need the quarterback depth, because after next season it's going to be Jackson Arnold and Davis Bevel, and no one wants to see that shit again.
I never had to see that.
Lucky you. It's always going to be Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins for a couple of years, and then Michael's turn to take over for a year or two, and then then it's between him and Sperry, who's going to win the starting job post Jackson Arnold.
Well,
Assuming
do you think Nick Evers was aware of the Sooners' pursuit of Jackson Arnold?
Probably not. And even if it was a pursuit, right? He was already on campus, and that's different. That's like getting blindsided in a way by all right, someone's getting brought in to take the job that was supposed to be mine. This is the inverse. I'm going to be brought in to back up that guy, and eventually that'll be my job.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like OU in the recruiting process of Nick Evers probably said, "Hey, we're going to go after 23 quarterback too." So I don't know how much of a blindside it could have been. I don't know. I was not there for the recruitment process of Nick Evers, but I have a feeling Brent Venables It's pretty straightforward. He seems to be that kind of guy, and I bet he told him that they were going to pursue a 23 quarterback as well.
Well, and in the 24 class, it seems like Oklahoma's going to try to take 2 quarterbacks, whether it's Michael Hawkins or not, which I do believe that he'll be in that class. But Oklahoma made a top 4 for Samaj Jones. Whether that's legitimate or not, as far as Oklahoma could land him, I'm not 100% sure. But you make a top 4, Oklahoma's obviously recruiting him. Oklahoma is making sure that quarterback depth is never an issue in the future.
Or does that mean that maybe Oklahoma doesn't feel as comfortable as we do about Michael Hawkins?
That's a fair point.
I still think it comes down to quarterback depth. You just don't want to be in a situation like you were last year, and they're really trying to avoid it. And it's not like it's unheard of that a school takes 2 quarterbacks. Bama did it last year. What was Mac Jones and Tua from the same year? Like,
yeah, they had Mac
schools
Jones
do it.
and Tua on the same team at once.
Yeah, they were pretty good then in the quarterback room. But let's talk about Lloyd's question about Sammy Brown or Peyton Pierce. Personally, I'll start. I mean, I think Sammy Brown. I think we can all assume, and the safe bet would be Georgia. I mean, being from Georgia, it would be hard for Oklahoma to get the top linebacker or one of the top linebackers in the country. Peyton Pierce, I know he's been trending a little towards Ohio State. If I'm remembering right, he's picked up a crystal ball or two in favor of the Buckeyes. I think when it comes down to it, I think he's going to have a hard time leaving Oklahoma. So I'd say Brown goes to Georgia. I think Pierce ends up in Norman. I think he's a Sooner.
Hope you're right.
Pierce just looks like he's going to be a really good linebacker for the rest of his life. He has that huge neck, broad shoulders. It'd be surprising if he's not a good linebacker. But yeah, Sammy Brown, we'll see. It definitely doesn't seem like Oklahoma's by any means the leader. Peyton Pierce, for a while Oklahoma was the leader, but now Ohio State's really making a push for him, and they just beat us out for a running back recruit that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But both of those guys, there's a good chance that neither of them are going to be in Norman. But Peyton Pierce seems like the most likely suspect from that duo.
Definitely.
Yeah,
And you know what?
James Peoples, that one hurted. That was a favorite running back in the class, as you guys know. That's also a great shirt.
Thanks,
I realized you were wearing that.
Yeah. You know what I just realized is that we just had our 2-year anniversary on our channel.
Hell yeah.
If I was them.
Yeah. If anyone's watching this and you go back to the very first episode, it was rough.
I wonder if anybody here was at the first episode.
I hope not. For your guys'
I
sake.
hope not either.
Small game Boomer. He is supposed to take a visit at some point. I don't believe the dates have been released at all. So
Yeah, I want to say he might be coming in June, but I could be.
He's supposed to be
totally
here.
wrong.
Sammy Brown's supposed to be in Norman sometime in April, probably next
is it
week.
April?
I know he's
Okay.
on 3 reported that he was either in Clemson now or going to be in Clemson this weekend. At Clemson, sorry. So it'll happen at some point soon.
Yeah, it probably is. I would imagine. It's good to get him on campus.
And then Jeff, first D-line commit.
Gonna be our boy David Stone.
Oh man, that's a really
He April Fool's everybody.
He did.
Do I?
He April Fool's all of us.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people saw that on Twitter on April Fool's Day and were like, hell yeah, like, you know what I mean? I think he April Fool's us, but that's going to become a reality, I think, at some point down the road.
I don't know who the first one. Part of me wants to say it would be Stone, but the other part of me says not.
It got Jeff. Yeah, it's April Fool's Day is a bad day to be on Twitter. I also wonder how many people thought that General Booty was actually making the move to tight end, based on the tweet from OU football about the position change for him.
Yeah, Saturday, just if you were on the internet, you definitely got at least once, if not more.
That was also Jose's birthday, April Fool's Day. Happy belated.
Thanks, bud.
Yes.
Someone commented about your home decor, Brandon.
There's a pool table.
Your house is bland as hell.
There's a pool table and a big TV. I'm just chilling.
He's currently in a COVID cave.
Yeah, I have
so
COVID, so I'm separated from the world right now.
Oh,
that specific room, I guess you could say, is bland if that's not your preferred decor. All right, here we go. Kind of on the James Peoples topic, since we didn't really touch on that. So he obviously committed to Ohio State. A lot of people still think Mizell, that crystal ball is still there. Could be part of the class. The in-state kid Robinson, Caden Durham, who are still in it for plenty of other running backs. And James Peoples did release that edit like middle of last week that he was taking an official to Oklahoma and that he was going to be at the spring game. So just because he's committed doesn't mean that this is completely over.
I would love to switch that. It's my favorite running back of the class.
Yeah, and the guy I hope that Oklahoma ends up getting, and whether it's one or two or three, I really like Jeremy Payne. I think Jeremy Payne would be a good addition. Caden Durham's obviously good. Mizell's good. I mean, at the end of the day, any combination of two or three guys, I think we've got to be happy with. I know James Peoples is really good, but it seemed like Ohio State made him speed up his commitment and probably to lock in his spot. And who the first out of a handful of offers that Oklahoma's got out running back, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it would be Caden Durham would be the first one to pull the trigger. I think that one makes the most sense. Do you guys have a feel for or an idea of who the first running back might be out of the group? I think what Lloyd said, Mizell, Durham, and Robinson is a fair trio. But I really would like to see Jeremy Payne in this class.
You go ahead, Hose.
That's tough. Because I don't think any of them are in any real rush. Maybe Robinson would be the first guy to commit to Oklahoma because he is from the state of Oklahoma. It just seems like the natural fit there. I don't really foresee Durham and Mizell doing this super quickly. Like, they're going to take their visits just like the staff expects them to, and if they land, they land. And just like Jeremy, because that is a guy that we haven't talked about in a while, because it is baseball season for him. He's focused on that right now, and visits are probably not going to start happening again for him until summertime.
I just trust in the process overall. DeMarco Murray's going to get some dudes in there, and they're going to be good, so I'm not worried about it. I never really worry about the running back position, though. It is what it is, and we're going to be good there.
And naturally, you think that Mizell would be the first running back to commit to Oklahoma, just because he was committed to Georgia, visited Oklahoma, then decommitted from Georgia. You would think that would mean a commitment is imminent, and I don't necessarily get that feel that it would. I think he just realized that there's more out there, and he wants to explore all of his options. I think at the end of the day, whoever commits first, there's going to be a second running back that commits very quickly after, one way or another, whoever it is. Small game boomer, I like Durham, Robinson, and Payne. I think that's a trio that I feel like that Oklahoma would land, just because thinking about it regionally, Mizell's in Fort Lauderdale. That's a long ways away. And you get Durham, Robinson, and Payne. They're all within a few hours of you.
What do you guys think of Robert's comment here? Or his question? I think if Oklahoma has a feeling or, an inkling that they might be able to flip this, you know what I mean? They talk to him. They have an idea. If they have an idea that they can genuinely flip this kid's commitment from Ohio State to Oklahoma, I don't think it's a waste of an official visit, because I think James Peoples is the best running back in the class. I think, like I said, if OU knows something we don't know, and I'm sure they do, we don't know anything, then it's not a waste. It's not a wasted official visit. But I see what he's saying. What do you guys think? I
go back and forth on it. I think also part of the reason why Oklahoma was short on visits were a lot of schools were short on visits because remember with the transfer portal the way it is and the number of officials that you get, it doesn't really bode well for whenever it comes time for the transfer portal. And I do wonder that maybe Oklahoma does hold a few more for this next offseason. But then the other part of me says probably not because, Venables wants to build through the high school ranks. And last year and the year before, it's kind of been more of you have to use the transfer portal. I'm not saying that Venables will never use the transfer portal because I think he will. It's just a matter of I think he might realize that, hey, I don't have to go to the transfer portal for a ton of guys. I might need just 2 or 3, maybe 4, and that's about it every year. Just because if you're taking classes of 25 to 30 high school athletes, in theory, you really shouldn't need a ton of officials past early National Signing Day, in theory anyway.
Also, if we, like Ho said, if we can get James Peoples, if his official visit is in fact the spring game, that's a good way to change somebody's mind. Because there's not many schools in the country that have 70,000 plus at a spring game, and I would bet money that OU does it again this season. That's an awesome atmosphere, and I think that's a good spot to change somebody's mind. Seeing 70,000 fans going crazy over a spring game, a game that doesn't count, that doesn't mean anything. That's just how excited this fan base is about this program and in the direction it's headed. It would be hard for me to be an athlete and to see pretty much a scrimmage with that many people there, that many passionate fans, and be like, damn.
So that's not his official, but he is supposed to be there. We'll see if that stands, I guess. If he is there, then I agree. That's got to be one. The staff should feel good that they're still in it. Very much like, vice versa. If someone were to visit, was it like if Jeremiah Newcomb, if you were to take a visit somewhere else, I'm sure they're probably wanting to touch base with him and see where his head is at, and fans would be, thrown back a little bit, thinking why is he visiting after committing so quickly? So similar situation.
Like if I'm an Ohio State fan and I see that James People is visiting for the OU spring game, I'm not going to love that.
Yeah. Here, let's talk about the freshmen this year, because the 2023 class was big time. People love Jackson Arnold. Pretty much every PJ Adebawore, Peyton Bowen, obviously his long-awaited recruitment/commitment. That was probably one very rare situation that we'll probably never see again. Who do you guys think are the guys that are going to come in year one and get playing time as true freshmen?
Peyton Bowen is the easy answer. Peyton Bowen's going to play as a freshman, whether that be a lot on defense or special teams, whatever. He's going to see the field. I think PJ Adebawore has a chance to see the field. And then the guy that I think is a dark horse, you guys know what I'm going to say, it's an offensive player. Him not being an early enrollee hurts him, but I think Jaquez Pettaway is that good. I think Jaquez Pettaway has the opportunity when he gets here in June to really ball out. Maybe if someone's struggling during the season, if some injury bugs happen, at the receiver position, that's a thing it could happen. I think Jaquez Pettaway is a sneaky pick for a freshman who could see the field and do some damage.
As far as freshman goes, and Lloyd said it as well, it seems like that Josiah Wagner's playing extremely well in camp so far. And granted, it's only been a few weeks of spring ball, so you have to take it a little bit with a grain of salt. I remember, watching some of these spring games, and you're thinking, oh man, that kid is going to explode this fall, and then nothing comes to fruition. Like last year, we thought Jaden Gibson was that dude. I still think he's really good, and I still think he'll contribute as a Sooner, but there wasn't a whole lot, and it just takes time to get from the spring game all the way to the opening weekend is a total different level of football. And I'm not saying Josiah Wagner couldn't do that, but it seems he's trending that way, that he could potentially do it. As far as someone that I think that could actually play and have some impact is Caden Green. I think Caden Green, he's filling in because Oklahoma, with Jacob Sexton being out and then Walter Rouse being out, he's getting a lot of playing time in spring ball. And Caden Green came in at 6'5", 315. He's already got the frame. I'm not saying that he's got all the strength that he needs, but he's getting a lot of reps. How ready will Jacob Sexton be? Because I believe he tore his ACL and MCL or something like that during the Cheez-It Bowl. So that was in December, late December, at the end of the year. Is he ready to go the end of August, beginning of September? I mean, that's 8 months. And when exactly he had surgery, I'm not really 100% sure. It could be even more, 7.5 months. Are you ready to roll after that? I don't know. I mean, that's a pretty aggressive recovery time for anyone, let alone
unless you're Adrian Peterson.
Well, there's not many of those out there. He's one of a kind. He's one of one, and I just wonder. I think Walter Rouse will be ready to go. I just wonder, is Jacob Sexton ready to go? I think by maybe OU Texas he would be. And maybe he is. I just feel like coming back from an ACL, it's awfully quick.
So I think Peyton Bowen would be agreed as the easy answer, but I don't see him playing safety as a true freshman. He'd be on special teams quite a bit, returning punts. Because if you think back to his high school tape, some of the biggest highlights were him returning kicks and punts. I can't imagine that they wouldn't utilize that if he is that electric and still at the college level. Why not try to do it? And then Caden Green, because of the injury issues that Oklahoma's had on the offensive line, like Brum said, getting a lot of playing time. I don't know. It's hard to have a group of freshmen come in and be impactful and then still expect to be a good team. And I expect Oklahoma to be a good team, so it probably won't be that many freshmen playing, real meaningful football unless injuries happen. Then once injuries come to play, it's kind of hard to predict. But maybe PJ. I think PJ would be on a 2 deep where Trace Ford isn't, respectfully to him, isn't known for staying on the field for an entire season. I hope it happens for his sake and getting drafted next year. But if he does come up where there's a couple games that he's hurt and isn't available, I think PJ could come in and have a huge impact. Bart Mason Thomas did it last year. I think you could kind of expect a similar production from PJ in this next season.
What about Derek LeBlanc?
I think Derek LeBlanc could, as long as he keeps putting on weight. It seems like he's been putting on a lot of weight, and I think he could, halfway through the season, he might be ready to at least start really contributing. Whether he's a starter or not, I'm guessing probably won't, but he could be firmly in the rotation. So I got a question for you guys. Out of the class of the freshmen and the incoming transfers, who is the most impactful? Is it still, the same guy that you said, or does someone come in and, like a Rondell Bothrid, does he come in, or does Caleb Schaefer come in?
How about Dasan McCullough?
Or Dasan McCullough, yeah.
I think Dasan McCullough has a real opportunity to lead the team in sacks. I think that dude put up a real good season at Indiana. He's going to be better coached at Oklahoma. I think Brent Venables is going to love coaching that guy. I think Dasan McCullough is, or even God, his name's escaping me. The Texas Tech transfer safety, Reggie Pearson. I think he's going to have a pretty big season too. Hose mentioned Trace Ford. I think those three guys from the transfer portal are going to be very impactful. And like Hose said, barring an injury to Trace Ford, just because his past has shown some of that, unfortunately. But Dasan McCullough, I guess, is my pick for this one.
I'm going to go with Caleb Schaefer. He's an enormous human being that will definitely help Dylan Gabriel not be worried about the boys trying to protect him. Because if we think back to the beginning of last year, seemed to be a lot of times where Dylan was kind of scared for his life, thinking that the offensive line was just going to let anyone come through basically untouched and kill him. With the size that they have there in Caleb, and assuming Walter is able to come back pretty healthy, like the entire line has a lot of experience and plenty of talent that where Dylan really shouldn't be on the ground too much.
No, he shouldn't be. And as far as who I think is the most impactful. I mean, I think OU's going to have a lot of impactful players coming in through this transfer class, but I think Stogner. I think he, obviously Oklahoma's really familiar with him. It seems like he's come back with, he's even more refined and a better player since being at South Carolina for a year. But I think Oklahoma has missed him. I'm not saying that Braden Willis didn't do what, didn't do enough. But I just think Stogner is another level of a caliber of a tight end, and I think he can really stretch the field, and especially the middle of the field. I think as long as he starts opening that up, which I think he will, I think you're going to see this offense really flourish with him running down the middle and the way he can block. And, I mean, Willis was great, but I think Stogner is really set up to be the guy this year, assuming he can stay healthy, which I'd imagine he would or will.
The real important question for Stogner is, can he run a Wild Sooner offense in case we are set up in that shitty situation like last year?
So we don't run the Wild Sooner. I think we have a pretty competent backup quarterback.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Here, do you guys want? Here, last thing we'll cover before we wrap it up: starting wide receivers for this upcoming season, and we'll do some videos and a series where we kind of predict a two deep for offense and defense later on. But just off the top of your head, who do you guys think will be the starting group there for Emmett Jones?
Drake Stoops.
I mean, yeah, the two that jump off the top of my head is Jalil Farouk and Drake Stoops. Those are your 1 and 2 that will probably always be on the field. Looking at the depth chart, could a guy maybe like a J.J. Hester see the field? Maybe. He potentially could. Does DJ Graham? I don't know. Making the transition to the wide receiver, could he see the field? I don't know about Andrell Anthony. I know that they got him in the transfer portal from Michigan. Part of me has my expectations a little bit lower after the way that LV Bunkley Shelton came in. And J.J. Hester, they didn't really contribute a whole lot. Just Jaden Gibson really come out and really have a coming out party. If I were to name 3 right now, Jalil Farouk, Drake Stoops, and I'm going to say DJ Graham, just because he's been with the program long enough, and I think he'll pick it up quick.
That's bold. I still think Jaden Gibson will be the 3, at least to start the season. But you mentioned J.J. Hester. I think he's a guy that people aren't talking about enough. I think he got in late, or not late last year, but I think he was a little banged up, learning a new system on offense. I think having the whole offseason that he's had now and everything, I think J.J. Hester has everything that you need to be a good receiver. I'd like to see him out there on the field, but that's part of all these question marks that we have at receiver right now is one of the reasons that I legitimately think Jaquez Petaway could eventually make his way out there.
So who are your 3?
I'll go Stoops, Farouk, and Jaden Gibson. Start.
So I'll go with Farouk, Petaway, and Stoops as the starters for next season.
I like it. So you also see Jaquez Petaway coming in late and getting that start.
Well, yeah, he's athletic. As his athleticism isn't questioned. It's can he come in and pick up the offense quickly enough? And if he can, then I don't see why he's not on the field. That's really the biggest question mark when you're an incoming freshman with this staff is can you pick up the offense or the defense quickly enough to get any time on the field? Because if you look at the wide receiver group, I think Jaden Gibson's frame is the ideal situation, and he should be the number 2 or 3 wide receiver for next year. But does having Emmett Jones there help him with the case of the dropsies he had last year? And did he bulk up because he was a twig? I mean, we'll see, but I'm going to go with Petaway just because I think he's that good and he could get a good amount of playing time. And to me, these are starters like by the end of the year. Maybe game 1 it is Gibson or Nick Anderson, but by the time we're really into the meat of the schedule, I think Petaway is going to be out there very regularly.
Well, Keon Braun, small game boomer, brought up a good point there. We didn't even mention Keon Braun.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And looking at more of the comments or the questions from Lloyd, do you think we'll go after any wide receiver in the transfer portal? I don't believe so. I think Oklahoma's got enough on the roster that they're not going to go look elsewhere at this point. And then Jag Sooner, he's been around since day one, as he said. I remember seeing his comments whenever we would get like 2 comments on a video. But as far as what rounds do you think the Sooners will go in the draft? Harrison, Mims, Turk, Anton, I think goes in the first round. I think late first, mid to late first. I'd be happy if the Patriots picked him up because we need an offensive tackle.
No one wants.
Of course you would.
Nobody wants that.
I mean, just join the fold like Ronnie Perkins and
Ramondre.
Huh?
You guys ruined Ronnie Perkins.
He'll be all right. And then
You're probably going to start
Ramondre
looking for a
Stevenson.
Ramondre replacement.
Yeah, probably. But as far as Marvin Mims, I think he's an early 3rd round pick. I think he's a 3rd.
Marvin Mims and Jalen Redmond had the most impressive pro days, I think, out of the Sooners. Marvin Mims ran like a 4.38 with like almost a 40-inch vertical. And Jalen Redmond, at however big he is, ran a 4.8, bench pressed a bunch. I think he had a pretty damn good pro day too. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'd like to see Marvin sneak into the second just because I think he's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think he's good too.
Punter, but punters don't go early.
Yeah,
If at all.
Turk will probably go undrafted or in the 7th round. Not because he isn't good, just because that's the way he is. And then as far as like Redmond, I think he's a late 4th, solid 5th round pick probably. I think he's a little underrated just because he struggled to stay on the field. Trying to think who else. And then you also have the offensive tackle that's going as well. Not Anton. Wanya Morris. I think he's in the mid rounds. I think he's a 3rd or a 4th.
What about Eric Gray?
It's just because running backs are not as valued as they once were in the NFL. I think Eric Gray probably goes in the 4th or the 5th, just because NFL just doesn't really value running backs at this point. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I could see Eric Gray and Jalen Redmond being both undrafted.
You get
Eric
Jalen
because
in the 5th, like Brum said. If you get him undrafted, that's the biggest steal of all time.
yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking at like Eric Gray should be drafted, but the running backs this year are getting absolutely hoed when it comes to getting paid. No one wants to pay them, and there's plenty of them available. Some teams are actually trying to move their star running backs. I mean, I'm a Vikings fan, and there were plenty of rumors that Dalvin Cook was going to be on the move. They're probably going to just try to leave those guys towards the end. You're going to see a run at them. Like Bijan might go in the 1st, but even that's still like a question mark. Like he's, I don't know, to some people the undoubted number 1 running back, and he might not be a 1st round pick because he's a running back. Like that's crazy. Because when you have a really good running back, your team can be really fucking good. Eric Gray and Jalen Redmond, to me, could both be undrafted because of, well, for Redmond, it's definitely the health issues. If he could stay on the field, he would definitely be a 3rd or 4th round pick because he's that good. But I don't think, did he ever was he ever available for a whole season in college?
No.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Lloyd, the answer to your question is LV Bunkley Shelton.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty good show. I think we should start sprinkling these in a little bit more. People should definitely be subscribed, like the video, turn the notification bell on so you know when we go live. We'll have to start doing this more.
It is national championship time in basketball, boys. Like literally right now, I think actually. Who do you go tonight?
UConn.
I think UConn wins by 20.
Don't say that. I want a competitive game. I want San Diego State to win, but I agree with you. I think Connecticut will win.
Yeah.
I wish the Owls would have made it. Fucking Aztecs.
Oh, small game boomer. Appreciate you. You see that?
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it. Yeah, definitely.
Man.
I hope San Diego State wins. I hope they do. I just think Connecticut is just that good. And they just haven't really been playing competitive games because they've been that much better than everyone.
Darn it, Owls should have been there tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, Jag Sooner has it. If you guys, do you guys want to comment on what
What is that guy's name?
Mike White?
Yeah, Mike. That guy's the biggest idiot of all time. That's all I have to say about that. Yeah, he's a loser. He's the biggest idiot of all time. That guy sucks. But I mean, I would be hurt too if we constantly got our ass kicked by our biggest rival. And that it's over and over. We whooped their ass in the national championship series last season. This year they felt like they were going to get one from us. They tweeted 3 outs away when they were up. What was it? 2 runs going into the 7th in game 2 of that series, and then obviously Jada Colvin does what she does, and then Kinsey Hansen walks it off, and then the very next day they run rule him. So yeah, he's just the biggest idiot of all time.
I don't think I have to add anything. It's just comical.
Yep, I think we're gonna clip that out and tweet it.
Mike White, if you have a Twitter, let's tag him. Also at Mike White.
Or not football. Yeah. All right. Well, you made it this far. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description. And we will see you guys later this week.
Appreciate it.